time for us to do consumer tech. And on this segment of the show, Philip Kofi Ashon is joining us. We're going to be finding out online shopping, how to make sure that our purchases are secure as possible, and all those things that go with it. Good morning to you, Philip.
Good morning, Kweko. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good this morning. Yeah, how are you?
I'm pretty brilliant. Pretty brilliant. So, this topic has come about, as a result of a lot of things that people have been doing during the COVID period.
Yeah.
A lot of purchases that people have been making during the COVID period, which is understandable because you're home, and you can't really go out
and get stuff done. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just important that we take note of certain things and certain decisions that we make online in terms of our purchases and things like that. So I just thought to highlight some of these, for our viewers at home. So, there are a number of things that happen when you log onto a website or you find yourself, on one page or the other trying to make a purchase. There are a number of things that are going on behind the scenes that you might not necessarily be aware. And it's important that we have a few things in mind. Number one, there are people out there who don't necessarily like the idea that, you have a lot of money necessarily to make a purchase. And they want a bit of that. So you just have to bear that in mind. Also, there are a number of things that you yourself are not aware are happening, behind the scenes. And it's something that you need to take into consideration. The first thing that usually happens is that people want your information. They want your information for a number of things. To get access to either your bank details so that they can take your money. They want access to your email account so they can get more information about you. To get access to your bank details to take your money. It always leads to the money.
The money, yeah.
And so people are always coming up with interesting schemes to get access to your personal information so they can get access to your money at the end of the day. And so that's one of the major things that happens. So identity theft is one of the major things that happen. They use a phishing scheme, that is phishing, phishing scheme. You usually get a very weird email from some weird individual you have no idea of, or asking you to do one thing or the other, or offering you some too believable, too good to be true offer. Usually when you get these things, it is most likely that people are trying to get access to your information. You'll click on a link, it will take you to some website, you're asked to fill in your details, and basically that's how it happens. Sometimes it's even more sophisticated than that. Sometimes it can be so effective that just taking your mouse over the link alone gives them access to your details, and it's a very scary thing. But that's basically what happens these days. They ask you to register for gifts and things like that. Register today and win some amazing, incredible gift that never seems to ever come up. Well, that's basically it. So that's one of the ways that these phishing schemes are one of the ways that people try to take your identity. Then there's card fraud. You're making a purchase, you enter your card details, all of a sudden you realize that, money is going out of your account for some reason. It's a number of things that sometimes happen. You are making, let's say you're on a website, you're making a purchase, and then they take you to the link where you enter your bank details and everything. Some people create dummy pages. So instead of going to the page of the company that you are trying to deal with, the quote-unquote legit company, what happens is that a sort of an alternate page has been created that looks very identical to that of the page that you're trying to get to, and you enter your details there, and voila, they have your details. And so these things tend to happen a lot, and it's a very scary position to be in, especially if you're someone who probably doesn't do a lot of online purchases, and all of a sudden your money is being taken. So they create all these identical pages and then they steal your data. And there's also something called adware and malware. So sometimes you are on your phone and then these pop-ups just come out of nowhere. You're on your laptop and these pop-ups come up, buy this or shop here and shop there, and it takes over your screen. It's very frustrating. It most likely means that your device has been compromised. That's basically what it means. And usually what you need to do is probably do a complete clean sweep of your mobile device just to get rid of it. Because what's happening is that once these messages are coming through, it means that they have access to a certain part of your device. And if they have a certain access to a certain part of your device, it's most likely they can have access to other sensitive parts of your device. What it means is that you might be compromised. If a pop-up comes and out of frustration, you click a certain part, it can lead them to some parts of your phone where they can, take your information. And so how do we fight all of this? Because it seems like quite a lot. One of the easiest things you can do is to ensure that whatever website you're dealing with, you have a look at the address bar. That is the bar at the top. Now, usually most of the addresses start with HTTP, and then look out for the little s. It's a protocol. Now, in dealing with web pages online, there are protocols that have been established that allow you to interact with these websites. So the interaction needs to be secure, such that a third party cannot have access to the information that you're sending to the other person. So let's say you sell tires. I want to buy a tire from you. Your website, when you set it up, must have a security protocol for me to be able to trust that I can make a dealing with you. Now, when I am making the purchase, I have to look out for that secure protocol. And all you need to do is just look into the address bar at the top of the web page. Make sure there's HTTPS and not just HTTP. Hypertext Transfer Protocol. That's basically what it means. There must be an S at the end of that's those cute little letters. If the S is there, you are dealing with a secure site or a secure page. That means that they have signed on to a security protocol, which means that the interaction you're having with them is secure. So that's one of the first things you need to do. Look out for the S at the end of HTTP. It just means that the website you're dealing with is secure. Now, the other thing you can do is to not send personal information in email. Try as much as possible not to send personal information through email to anybody. Just try as much as possible. Look for other alternatives that ensure end-to-end encryption. So, for example, when you're sending a WhatsApp message, I'm sure you've probably realized by now, you see end-to-end encryption. That at least gives you a certain level of assurance. If you're not sure about the platform you're using to send the information, try as much as possible not to even do it in the first place. Always try to deal with legitimate websites. The offers might be nice, it might be attractive, but always try to deal only with legitimate websites. If it's too good to be true, it is most likely not true. A number of things that you can also do. The cards that you use to make the purchase, make sure that the bank that issues you the card has something called fraud protection. These are protocols that are put in place globally. It's a standard, that ensure that the transfers and the purchases or the things that you intend to do on the internet are covered with a certain level of security. So make sure you check with your bank, make sure they are fraud compliant or they have fraud protection for the cards that they are issuing to you. It might be nice to get your card immediately you request for it, but make sure that you go the extra mile of finding out if they have fraud protection. You might have a lot of money, but then there's no point having a card to use online and then losing all your money. Always try to do transactions on a secure internet connection. It's nice when you go to a public place and there's free Wi-Fi. Everybody loves free Wi-Fi. But with free Wi-Fi also comes a few problems. Now, these problems are such that people can create all manner of things on these free bits of Wi-Fi and can compromise your data. So my advice is don't do any transactions on free internet or free Wi-Fi. Make sure it's a secured Wi-Fi connection before you make any purchase. Also, try and create a dummy account on which you do your transactions. So, for example, if you have an office email address or you have a personal email address that you typically use for most of your interactions, try as much as possible not to use those email addresses for your online purchases. Create another one and then use that one so that in case there is a compromise, your main account is not the one that is affected. The final one is two-factor authentication, and we've talked about this a number of times. So typically if you're signing on to a service or you're signing on to an online portal, you will have to go through, signing in, what's your username, what's your password. That's just one level. You need a second level where you will be verified that this is actually the person. This typically arrives in either an email or as a text message to your phone. Try as much as possible to activate two-factor authentication for most of your profiles. And I mean, I think with these pointers, you should be fine in terms of what you're supposed to be doing for online interactions and then purchases, especially that you'll be doing online.
I've heard of things like, you mentioned malware. I've heard of things like worms and Trojan horses and things.
Those are high-level attacks that typically people who are looking to compromise your data will inject into your system. So it can arrive sometimes in an email. It can arrive sometimes in a pen drive that is connected to your system. It can arrive in all manner of ways. The only thing is that at the end of the day, all these are basically supposed to compromise your system so someone can take over your system, either your bank details or your computer itself. I mean, there are all manner of viruses, that, ransomware and things like that. And all these things end up just basically compromising your data where you will have to let go of some money to be able to get access to it. So generally, if you follow some of these protocols that we've talked about, you should be fine in terms of engaging in online transactions.
And finally, this thing where people send the phishing thing you talked about. People send emails. How does one who is relatively, let's say, new to
the whole
email world, decipher and keep themselves safe?
If the person who is sending you the email, I mean, you know the person who is sending you the email, you've probably had some level of interaction with them. If the message doesn't sound like the person, or you've not had a conversation with that person prior, it's usually best not to take that message seriously. Also, one thing that usually helps is, if you have a contact with that individual, call them and ask them, did you send this email? Did you, I mean, there's nothing like a human to human conversation. So just, contact the person.
From you,
was this really from you? Are you really in dire need of money? This is just a conversation away, and you should be fine. You should be fine. Anyway, so this is.
I see what you're holding.
This is the device we're talking about. We saw glimpses of this 2 weeks ago. We saw the videos, pretty excited about it, and we've had it. We've had it for close to about 6 days. Samsung made this particular one available to us for preview. You can have a quick look at it. So that is the Samsung Note 20 Ultra. As we talked about, there's a Note 20 Ultra and a Note 20. This particular one is a Mystic Bronze. As you can see, there's the green, the Mystic Green, and then the black as well. They have these very fancy names for it. But the Mystic Bronze seems to be the most popular color.
And the cameras, oh Lord.
Yeah, the cameras in the back. We'll be talking about the cameras in the back a bit. So there are 3 cameras, as you can see there. But this is the screen space. So the one on the left is the Note 20. The one on the right is the Note 20 Ultra. As you can see there, it's 6.9 inches. But this basically is a device. It has a dynamic AMOLED, screen. What it means is it's super sweet to look at things on it. I remember watching some Netflix movie on this particular phone, and trust me, it does feel good, especially when you put off the lights. In terms of how secure or how safe the glass is, they've actually done an improvement on last year's model of the device. It actually charges pretty quick. I usually got 100 or 45 or 50% in just a couple of seconds. So the selfie camera there is 10 megapixels, and the selfie camera there. And these are the 3 cameras in the back. These are the 3 cameras in the back. So you have the selfie camera, which is a 10 megapixel, and then you have these cameras in the back. There's the ultra wide. There's the ultra wide. There's a wide angle, and then there's a telephoto. The one that everybody seems to be screaming about is the wide angle camera, which is the 108 megapixel camera there. The ultra wide is 12, and then the telephoto camera lens also is 12. And these 3 work very well together. From my users, I did a couple of photos and videos at the weekend, and look, it's fantastic, especially when you use the slow-mo feature in it, and I'll be coming to that in a bit. This is how it works at night. What it does, I mean, this is a feature that we've seen in quite a number of models of Samsung devices over the period, where it takes multiple pictures, about 6 or 7 pictures in different light scenes or aperture levels and then combines them into one picture, and that's what you can see there. They've also done a bit of a modification. You realize in the last one, when you hold the back, you leave a lot of fingerprints in the back.
Yes.
They've changed the material that they use in the back, so you don't leave that many fingerprints and it doesn't slip too quickly out of your hands. So it does actually help. One of the things that really stand out about the device, all the notes so far, is what they call the S Pen. Now, the thing that they've done with the S Pen this year is that they've reduced the latency. Now, the latency basically is the time it takes for you to write on the screen and then when it appears on the phone. They've reduced it to 9 milliseconds from 42 milliseconds. That's literally like a blink of an eye. So basically, this is what we used to have with the S Pen. It's vastly improved over the period, and now we have a 9 millisecond S Pen. So you can just imagine just how much you can do with that. Now, one of the things I just want to show you quickly before we go is the Pro Video. The Pro Video is what I wanted to show you. Now, what's happening here is that when you zoom in, when you zoom in, the audio also zooms into where the sound is actually coming from. So when he's playing the guitar, when you zoom in, you can get, the sound becomes clearer based on, and so it isolates all the extra sound, and then based on where you're zooming in, it focuses the audio there. So for those of you who like to shoot, professional videos, I mean, this is brilliant for you. And you have, it shoots 8K video, it shoots 4K video. You have 108 megapixels of, quality to basically choose from. It's a very sweet device. I have my own issues, for example, with the facial recognition, which doesn't work too well for me personally, and so I always end up going with either the fingerprint or the pin. But generally, it's a very, very good device. It's going to be it's available from 4th September, I believe. But for now, I think you can pre-order and make sure you get yours. But it's a pretty nifty device. It comes in 512, 256, and 128 gig of space.
As a photographer, I really hate to say this now, but who needs DSLRs anymore?
There's a place for DSLRs. There's always a place for DSLRs. That's one I have to confess. There's always a place for DSLRs.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Well, fantastic. Thank you very much for that,
Absolutely.
Philip Kofi Ashon. He is the host of Citi Trends on 97.3 Citi FM and also the head of TV production here at Citi TV.
Hi there. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends.
This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on Citi TV.